Welcome to this Facebook Live. I'm Ron Deal. Thanks for being with me today. Some of you may be watching on FamilyLife Blended's Facebook page. Some of you may be watching on the FamilyLife Facebook page. So whichever you're at, Nice to have you with us. If you don't mind, you could share this and let other people know about it. We'd love to have them be a part of this. I know a number of you have already joined, and looks like seeing some folks. Derek's good to have you. Shannon, it's good to have you. So thanks for being with us today. We're going to be talking about some of your questions that were submitted during the Blended and Blessed live stream event that happened just a few weeks ago, Saturday, April 25th. I'll introduce a little more about that event if you're unfamiliar with it in just a minute. But before I do that, let me just let you know who's going to be joining me today. Gil and Brenda Stewart, my good friends from the Portland area, Vancouver, Washington, is where they live. And they're going to be joining me today. Gil and Brenda, nice to have you.
Hey. Nice to be here. Thank you very much.
It's good to have you. If you follow FamilyLife Blended, then you're probably familiar with Gil and Brenda. They have spoken for us a number of times and been on our podcast, the FamilyLife Blended podcast, which if you're not familiar with, we'll talk a little bit as we go through this program. So let me just give you a little context. At the live stream event, Blended and Blessed, a few weeks ago, we invited people to submit questions through our app during that event. By the way, that was a 5-hour live event, live streamed around the world. We had folks in 16 different countries other than the United States. And we took in a load of questions. We tried to address a few of those during the event, but what we said was, we'll come back and do some live streams on Facebook and address those questions in a series of Q&As. So this is number 3 of 4 Q&As that are scheduled to try to address questions. If you missed the other 2, they're housed at the FamilyLife Blended Facebook page. You can just go there and click videos and you'll be able to watch the others. Gil and Brenda are my guests this week, and we'll be talking about some of those questions. By the way, Blended and Blessed is available if you missed it as you can watch it online. You just get the all access digital pass. That's through the store here at FamilyLife, shop.familylife.com, shop.familylife.com. Just search Blended and Blessed. You'll find the all access digital pass. And for a very nominal fee, you can get access to that event and keep access for an extended period of time so you can watch it. Churches are using it as a small group tool. So there's 5 hours of material. You can spread it out and turn it into a 4 to 6 week study if you want to do that, or you can just absorb it on demand when it fits your personal schedule and just use it as a tool for your own personal life. So whatever works for you would be great. Okay, Gil and Brenda, got to ask you, how you coping with COVID these days?
I'm fine. It's like a seeing ahead into retirement. I can get into this.
Yeah, a little preview into retirement, huh?
Yeah, but of course I'm not old enough for that yet. I've got many years before.
Oh, many.
Yeah.
Many. I'm surprised you're even thinking about it at this time.
Why would I even bring it up?
I don't know. And what about you, Gil? How are you coping?
I think the idea is to get out and get a walk as often as possible, and being that we live kind of out of the Portland area, out kind of the hillside a little bit, we have room to move around. So my therapy this last weekend was playing in the dirt. So I ripped up my yard and put in new dirt. So we're getting there. So I'm feeling muscles I hadn't felt in a while.
Put in new dirt.
Yeah, new dirt, and then seed, all that stuff. So anyhow, we're good.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks for being with me today. I'm just checking. I'm seeing more people joining us. Susan's joined us. Mark has joined us. Thanks for being with us, guys. We appreciate it. Oh, yeah. And if you missed all that about accessing the All Access Digital Pass for the Blended and Blessed live stream, just go to the stream here. Look at the comments section. The team is putting information down there so you can get those links. That'd be great. All right, Gil and Brenda, let's get to people's questions. Yeah. We had some doozies that came in. So let me start with this one. All right. So can a person have one love language with one person and a different love language with another person? For example, can a child have a love language with mom and a different love language with stepdad? Let me just give a little context to this. So the Blended and Blessed live stream, if you missed it, we were focusing on some material that's based on a new book that Gary Chapman and I released in February called Building Love Together in Blended Families. Gary Chapman is the love language guy.
Yeah.
We've merged some of my material with his material, and we created this book, putting those concepts together. So we talked a lot about love languages, and that's where this question came from. So can you have a love language with one person and a different one with somebody else? What do you think?
Sure.
Yes. Moving on. All right. Next question.
Next question.
Yeah. I think especially in a blended family, because the kiddo is trying to be loved in all the places that he or she has to go.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a primary love language that the kiddo has, or even the adult, but given the context of where they're at, they may need something different in that other location, which might be different because they're traveling between two different countries.
Right. Yep.
So in a way, they might feel like a foreigner in one place and right at home at another. Mm-hmm. So to be aware of that for the child's sake is really an important thing for us to love them well.
Yeah. There's probably an academic conversation in here. If Gary was with us and we asked him, I can see somebody saying, well, your primary love language tends to go with you wherever you go. Whether or not they have a different love language or it's a different expression of their love language, that's neither here nor there. I think what's important is what you just said, is that in different places, children, adults can experience themselves in relationship to other in different ways. And I also think there's this nuance of, what do you think about this, Brenda? So I'm thinking about a child who their primary love language is words of affirmation, but giving and receiving words of affirmation with somebody like a step parent or a step sibling when they're still getting to know them. They're unsure of that person. So they might not really use words of affirmation. They might just try to dial that back and find another way of showing respect, for example. Do you think that's part of what's at play?
Yeah, because I remember what Gary had mentioned in sharing about the love languages. It's like, yeah, you might be words of affirmation, but if you don't have that relationship built yet, you could be like a bull in a china shop, just like that, so you really have to kind of dial it back. And like in almost everything with these stepkids, to let the stepchild set the pace of that relationship. And you'll know if you've gone too far or maybe not enough. They'll respond, even if not verbally, even physically, like, body language, like, what are you doing? Or, oh, I want more of that. So I think it's important just to be sensitive to where the kids are at.
Hey, let me follow up with what you just said. I think that's a really insightful piece there. Kids will let you know. They'll let you know. I think sometimes people, especially a step parent, when you're trying so hard, you're putting yourself out there, and then they let you know that was a disconnect, but you take it as a rejection or, and so you get defeated and you go, fine. When I think what I just heard you say was maybe it's an opportunity to learn something. You just learned that's not connecting, but that doesn't mean they're rejecting you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wish I knew that years ago. Because every rejection to me felt like a kick in the gut. Like, what? You don't care? I'm making an effort here. Come on. Show me a little slack here. So yeah, if I had known now, would I known then what I know now? Yeah, I wish I had handled that differently. To your point, not to take it personally and to have those eyes of curiosity for my stepchild, and it's about them, not me.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's to follow up even further, back to that concept that the kid is traveling between two different countries, so to say, and they are two different cultures, thus two different languages. But I don't want to forget about the adults as well, because I think about the nature. We just had Mother's Day a couple days ago, and your love language has always been acts of service. And that's easy for me to do because that tends to kind of just roll out of me.
Yeah.
But some especially moms, maybe their love language is gifts or quality time. However, at a stage of life, an act of service may mean I love you way more than that that quality time because you're exhausted. You know, I am as a mom or as a dad in a blended family running around. The fact that you served me with something simple might be saying loud and clear, I really do love you by serving you. So I think that can change for adults too.
Oh, good. Great. Okay, let's move on because we had so many questions. There's 2 or 3 that all had to do with former spouses. Let's tackle these maybe together. You guys know what I know, and that is that former spouses, co-parenting, these are hot topics. These are difficult for a lot of people. And so sure enough, we had some questions. So here's one. A dad said, my ex talks negatively to my kids about me and is trying to get them to choose her over me. I think we should have equal exposure to both homes. She's making it difficult for my teenage daughter who lives with her mom full time. How do I deal with this? And then another question was, the ex-spouse speaks negatively about me to our children. How do I best navigate this? I say nothing, this person says, because I don't want to hurt our children. I've already lost connection with one of the 3 children already from the things that they've been told by the other home. What do we do? Yeah. Thoughts?
Wow.
I'd have them listen to your interview with Tammy and Jay, your podcast that was released yesterday. They did an awesome job with co-parenting.
They did. I'll just mention that. So just yesterday, FamilyLife Blended podcast was all about co-parenting. And Tammy and Jay Daughtry did a wonderful job. We really talked through many of the logistics. I'll add our podcast number 6 was on challenging co-parent situations and parent alienation, which there's definitely some challenging situations going on in these questions.
Absolutely.
So yeah, what are your thoughts about what do you do if the other home is saying things to the children? They're polarizing the kids.
Right. I think my feeling on it, even though it's a kid issue, is the fact that as the marriage, how do we remain with a united front to the kids so that they see that we love them, that there's a safe place here, because we really can't control what the other adult is saying. And so if the other adult is, saying words that are ugly, they may not realize that as they scratch the other parent, they're actually scratching the kid. They're hurting the kid and don't even know it. So for us to be sensitive to that kid is to be welcoming with love, not more criticism, because they're already stretched between 2 places and they're confused.
Yeah. And isn't that really difficult when the kid is confused to the point that they are taking things out on you? They're turning their back to you and you can see the influence, but you feel hurt by that. You know what's behind it. You feel hurt by it. How do you not get angry at the kid?
I think for me, Ron, especially early on, because of our blended family situation, in hindsight, I see that the kids took it out on us because we were the ones that were stable. They knew that we could handle their anger, their frustration, their confusion. And for us to stay steady and remain open and loving actually gave them a soft place to land.
And to speak truth.
Yeah.
Not to say, oh, your mom is wrong in saying that, but just, oh, well, this is what's going on here. And, without putting down the other house or anything. It's just a matter of putting light on the truth. Oh, interesting that was said, because this is, what do you see that's going on? I mean, just really light and, like you said, Gil, very loving, because those kids are confused.
Yeah, that's a good word. I do want to add, for somebody who is really alienated from their child, I noticed this person said, I say nothing because I don't want to hurt the children. I do think there's a point of diminishing return with that. That's, in general, it's a good policy not to necessarily just fight fire with fire. The other home makes a negative comment, you make a negative comment. But in situations where alienation is going on, that is a systematic pulling away of the child, brainwashing, I would use that word, of them against you. You do have to speak up and speak out. And we don't have time to get into that today, but I want to point you to podcast number 6, Challenging Co-Parenting Situations and Parent Alienation. we talk specifically and directly about what to do about that. So if you're listening, that's a good one for you to go to. Another question related to former spouses. My husband's ex won't co-parent with us. We don't communicate about anything. The kids are 12 and 14. They have really struggled. How do we move forward? Am I expecting too much?
Oh boy.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, because you can't force the other person. So all you can do is really love well and engage the kids where they're at. If you're early on in the game, I think one of the favorite things I remember from you and I when we first met so many years ago, almost 18 years ago that we met, you made a comment that stuck with me for a long time, that the first 2 years are the hardest. And so if you're early in the game, lower your expectations and just be present, especially with teenagers, because teenagers, they're at that stage in time when they're trying to, find out who they are, and then they're trying to learn and navigate a new family system at the same time. So the more that you can give them a soft place to feel safe, it'll come around. Give it time, but stay the course.
Yeah, and stay the course with your kids. That's a good point. One of the things I hear in this question is, how do I motivate my unmotivated ex?
Right.
And this is where we laugh and we say, you can't. If you could, you might still be married to him. And this is the same question. How do you motivate an unmotivated child? How do you motivate an unmotivated college student? How do you motivate an unmotivated coworker? How do you motivate? You don't. You can invite them, you can encourage them, you can create a climate where it's more likely, but at the end of the day, they got to have motivation. If your former ex has no motivation to figure out how to communicate with you, then you have a dead end. But you can do what you can do in your relationship with the kids. You can still keep the door open on communication in case the other side finds some motivation. But you might be expecting too much to think that you're going to find the recipe to get them motivated. I think you stop trying to work that strategy and instead focus on who you do have control or power with or influence with, and that's your relationship with the kids.
And also with that, I would say, keep in mind the big picture. So you've got a 12-year-old, and hopefully within 6 years they'll be launching, right? So you'll be dealing with an 18-year-old at that point. And if your marriage is lasting the rest of your life, what 6 years to maybe go beyond what you need to for the sake of that child, to get them stable and healthy and get them what they need in spite of what the other parents doing.
Yeah. Good point.
I think that's so important. Yeah, I think that's so important, because the more we can have long haul thinking, the better it's going to be in the short term.
Yeah.
And frankly, a colleague and a friend of both of us, Gordon Taylor, made a comment to me a couple of days ago. As counselors, I can't motivate anybody.
Right.
It's up to you. And for me to motivate and to have some magic pill, it doesn't exist. But what I do know is that what I value and what I find is a priority, I live that out. And so if loving my wife is good, and that's a value and a priority, that's going to spill over into motivation, because it's going to be more taught than caught.
Right.
Caught than taught. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do I value? What do I prioritize? That's going to create motivation.
Good. Hey, if you're just joining us here on this Facebook Live, I'm Ron Deal, and I'm talking with Gil and Brenda Stewart. And what we're doing is a question answer Q&A session following up from the Blended and Blessed Livestream a couple of weeks ago. A question submitted from our viewers. So that's what we're doing. Here's another one. My girlfriend is defensive about me pointing out her unhealthy habits in parenting her 4-year-old. How can I help bring up these topics in a loving way so she'll listen? Gil, have I ever told you that you're a really lousy guest on a Facebook Live? Have I ever told you that? Yeah, so that didn't open you up, did it?
What?
Exactly. Everybody watching right now.
Where have I been?
everybody watching right now just went, I can't believe he said that. That's terrible. Well, that's what happens when you come to somebody with criticism. Like the step parent comes to the bio parent and says, boy, your 4-year-old's a mess. And I don't know what you're doing. Guess what? They just stopped listening. They just stopped considering what you have to say and your opinion, and you just shut them down and they're defensive. Okay, so that's not the way to do it. So what might be the way to do it? How was it? How can a step parent, when you guys disagreed about something the other was doing with the kid, like how did you find a way to approach those subjects?
Wow, we talk a lot about that. Podcast about criticize and compliment. Then when Gil would criticize my kids, the mama bear and me would come out. I would get defensive, and it would put space between us, big time.
Right. Immediately.
But then, if he were to compliment any of my kids, I would be like, oh my gosh, I would be open to what he has to say, because he could see things and speak into my kids' lives that I'm just blinded by because I think they're great, right? And by the compliments coming, it drew us closer.
Okay.
Now, sometimes it's hard to find a compliment.
Especially for those people. Especially those that are driving you crazy.
And also another caveat is he is not the stepdad. This is a girlfriend. So how much voice does he have? And this might be a little red flag for him. Does he want to continue a relationship with her?
Yeah, good point.
That way. So I don't know.
Good point. Yeah, right. Yeah. Gil, you got any thoughts about that?
Well, I think, if you are a stepdad and you're going to speak to your wife about their children, you got to remember you don't have a bond yet. That takes time to build. And so are you going to trust me with a criticism? Oh, well, eventually, once we build trust, the marriage has to be strong. So how much stress do I want to put on the relationship by picking at your offspring? Well, I'm just going to be honest. That's not a good move. You don't have rank. You don't have rank yet, and you don't have respect, because respect comes before relationship.
Good. I'll just offer one more thought. So, what I know about me is I'm not a parent to your kids, and I really have no right to make any comments here. And so I am very tentative about this. I have made a couple of observations. And I just would love to share those with you if you're open to hearing them. But please, I'm not meaning any criticism. I just wanted to have a little conversation with you around that. Would that be okay with you? That's a very one down. I don't have the answers. I just have questions. I'm joining you in this process. I'm inviting you. I'm asking permission. Is this okay for me to ask?
Yeah.
That might be a soft way of trying to get into an awkward conversation.
Well, I think even in backing that up even further, I'm pretty sure that Proverbs 15:1 says something along this line, that harsh words stir up wrath, but a soft tongue, that's entreating. If I can have a soft approach versus a harsh approach, you're going to get way more mileage out of that. But again, it's the relationship first, ours.
Yeah, good. Okay, let's move on to another one. Questions. We had a number of questions about kind of dividing up the family and how we find time together. Can we take trips without his kids, just us and our child? So this is the stepmom speaking, saying, we have an ours baby, and can we take trips without his kids, or is that kind of off limits? Another question, is it okay to visit my family without all the kids being with us? Some of his, some of mine, partly to get a break from what's going on at home. What do you think?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I valued so much early in our marriage is that we did have some time away, just us, because there's a marriage first and then the parents. But my concern here is, what am I projecting? What am I presenting to my stepchildren? That you're less important? That potentially that's a hazard. That's a hazard, because if there's plenty of room for everybody, then how am I demonstrating that? I would just be really careful with that. Yeah, it's not that you can't go do it, especially if they're over at the other parent's house and we just so happen. But make it an offer. You know, hey, we're going to go do this. Can it be negotiated? But if you need a break, take the break. But make sure everybody knows they're loved and cared for.
Yeah, that's a good one. What do you do with a teenage stepson who refuses to come out of his room when I'm home, and he refuses to acknowledge me? So this is a stepmom, I believe. Husband and I have been married for a year, and the teenager has lived with us full time for 9 months. So got a kid, just not even acknowledging, not even interacting. What do you do? I have this vision of, during Blended and Blessed, I talked about this metaphor of building a friendship and bonding, and how do you make a friend with somebody if you were to go over and knock on their door and say, you're new to the neighborhood, I want to meet you, but they don't open the door. Like, so here's the vision I have. This kid just won't open the door. And so they're stuck on the outside trying to talk through the door. Wow, that's not easy.
And I think that's a great opportunity for the bio dad to continue to build that relationship with his son, and then gently bring in his wife. But I mean, this is only a year into it. I mean, this is early. So it's like, show some grace to this kid. He may still be grieving the loss of his last family. Once again, like you were saying, Gil, long haul thinking. And I remember with some of my stepkids who were different than my kids, I would find out, when the time was right, what they liked, and go into their world, even though I may not have understood it, but put on those lenses of curiosity and say, hey, you're the expert in skateboarding. Tell me about it. I don't know anything. And then you can just see them in their element open up. So that's what are the bridges to their heart can you start building with them little by little?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, because the bridge to that kid's heart is through the biological parent's gate. You need to build that relationship so that you can then begin to build it yourself. But there was one thing we did with teenagers in our house. A thing that we called triple F nights, which stood for forced family fun. And that means, hey, we're going to go do a bowling alley night, and you are required to come and have fun.
Whether you like it or not.
But the point being is it gave a venue of which to create time together.
And memories.
We are starting from ground zero. They have no idea of who you are. You have to give opportunity for bonding because they don't know you. But if you're having fun, it gives it a less intimidating place. They're not going to go pour their heart out to you because they don't know you. So triple F nights.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I like that. And I imagine you said it with a smile, forced family fun, as opposed to, we're having fun. Delivery is everything, right?
Yeah, and those memories live on even now that our kids are in their 30s. So anyhow, it's great.
Well, man, I appreciate you guys being with me today. Thanks for joining me. If you just tuned in, this is Q&A session following Blended and Blessed, a live stream that happened on Saturday, April 25th. That is available through our all access digital pass, 5 hours of content material available for you to watch overtime on demand. Churches can use it as a small group. You could just watch it as an individual couple in your home. Follow the links in the comments here in this post, and you can find out how you can get a hold of that. We have one more in this series of questions and answers. So that will come next Tuesday at 11:30 Central Time. You can feel free to join us. We appreciate you having you with us today. Gil and Brenda, thanks for being my guest again.
Thank you.
Always an honor. Thank you.
All right. Love you guys. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
To everybody else, thank you for being with us today, and follow us on FamilyLife Blended, and check out the podcast on FamilyLife Blended podcast as well. Take care.